Welcome to 12.4. Today we're going to be talking about the law of sines. 3 vocab terms for this section. We've got the law of sines, that's the relationships of the side lengths and the sine of the angles that are across from them are all equal. Solving a triangle means to use the given information to find all of the missing side lengths and angle measures. So you'll be given 3 of the piece of information, you'll be asked to find the other 3. In an ambiguous case, being given 2 side lengths and an angle opposite of one of the sides could result in 0, 1, or 2 possible triangles being formed. The first thing we're going to talk about is finding the area of a non-right triangle using side, angle, side. So we're going to have 2 sides of a triangle, doesn't matter which 2, so it could be A and B, and the included angle C. So if we are given those 3 pieces of information, to find the area of the triangle, we take 1/2 times the 2 side lengths that we know times the sine of the angle in between them. Okay, so it could be AB and angle C, it could be sides BC and angle A, it could be sides AC and angle B. So as long as you have the 2 sides and the angle in between them, you can find the area of the triangle. Now the last thing that we need to know before we go on here is how we name triangles or label them. Okay, side lengths and angles that are across from them, we always use the same letter. So angle A, which is a capital A, is always across from side A, which is a lowercase a. Angle B, which is a capital B, is always across from side length B, which is a lowercase b. The one that's probably the most difficult to determine the difference, angle C, which is a capital C, is always across from side C, which is a lowercase c. So with C's, it's a little bit harder to figure out which one's capital and which one's lower. If it's a capital, you'll notice that the angle or the number usually has a degree sign or the word degrees with it. If it doesn't, you can assume that it's a side length. So we're going to find the area of the given triangle. So we've got triangle ABC. We're given angle C and the 2 sides that are on each side of it. We're given side A, which is an 8, and side B, which is 9. So to find the area, we take 1/2 times the 2 side lengths, 9 and 8, doesn't matter what order you write them in, times the sine of our angle C, so 104 degrees. Now when we do this, when we type this in, just like with the previous sections, we need to make sure our calculator is in degree mode. So again, hit mode on the top of the calculator, make sure the option is highlighted for degrees and not radians. It should be about the 3rd option down. So make sure that is the case. So if we type this into our calculators, 1/2 times 9 times 8 times the sine of 104, we will get an area of about 34.9. Okay, and we're going to round to the nearest 10th for these area form questions. So round to the nearest 10th, we get an area of 34.9. We also don't need to be given the triangle. We can just be given the measurements. Okay, so when you're not given the measurements, what you're looking for to find the area of the triangle is the letters are all different. Okay, so as long as I've got an A, a B, and a C, or if they use different letters, at least we have one of each, then we know that we have the information that we need. So I can go right into 1/2 times my 2 side lengths. Again, those are the lowercase letters. So 18 times 22 times the sine of our angle measure of 31 degrees. And if I type that into my calculator, I get an answer of 101.97. Well, the 7 is going to round the 9 up, so it's actually going to be 102.0 is our area. Okay, so when it rounds up like that, make sure we include that 0.0 as our answer to show that it has been rounded. Go ahead and pause the video, find this area on your own, and then hit play and see how you did. You should have done 1/2 times 7 times 8 times the sine of 86 degrees. And if you type that in, you'd get an answer of 27.9 for our area. Next thing we're going to talk about is law of sines to solve triangles. So we're going to be given 3 of the pieces of information. We're going to be asked to solve for the triangle. Find the other 3 missing pieces. Now the law of sines is right up here. Okay? Now you'll notice that each side length is with the angle that's across from it. So side A and angle A are together. Side B and angle B are together. Side C and angle C are together. And what we're going to do is we're going to take side A divided by the sine of A, and that's going to be equal to side B over sine of B, which is equal to sine C over sine of C. So we are going to be given one of these fractions. So we'll either know both A's, both B's, or both C's. We're going to be given one of those, and then we'll be given one of the other pieces of information. And so we're going to use equal fractions, cross multiply, and solve until we get our final missing piece. So here we have a triangle, and we're asked to solve it. Okay, and we're going to round to the nearest tenth if necessary. So you'll notice we are given angle C, angle B, and side C. So the pieces that we're missing are angle A, side B, and side A. Now the easiest one to find is your third angle. Because if I know 2 of the angles, I can find the third one pretty easily because they're supposed to add up to 180. So I add the 2 angles together, and that gives me 125. And then I'm going to take that and I'm going to subtract it from 180, giving me my answer for angle A, which is 55 degrees. So angle A is 55 degrees. Okay, so I can start there. So when I actually get into the law of sines, you'll notice I am given angle C and side C. So that is going to be my reference fraction. So I'm going to have 3 over the sine of 80. Now it doesn't matter which side I solve for next. Okay, if I solve for B next, I'm going to set that equal to the side B over the sine of angle B, which is 45 degrees. Cross multiply, giving me 3 sine of 45 is equal to B sine of 80. To solve for B, I divide both sides by the sine of 80. Now when you type this into your calculator, when you type that fraction in, make sure the 45 degrees has the parentheses closed. So if you do 3 sine of 45, make sure to close the parentheses with that button above the 9, and then you can hit divided by the sine of 80. And if you do that, we get that B is about 2.2. Okay, if you don't close the parentheses, what the calculator thinks you want it to do is this instead, the sine of 45 divided by the sine of 80, and that's not what we want. Okay, if you don't close the parentheses, that's what it thinks you want to do, and you're going to get the wrong answer. So make sure you close the parentheses. Now for A, I use the same reference fraction, so I can do 3 over the sine of 80, and I'm going to set it equal to A over the sine of angle A, which is 55. Again, I'm going to cross multiply. 3 times the sine of 55 is equal to A times the sine of 80. Divide both sides by the sine of 80. Okay, and again, what I get for A is what I get when I type this in. So again, 3 sine of 55, close the parentheses, divided by sine of 80, and I round it to the nearest tenth, so A is about 2.5. So I have now solved the triangle because I know what all 3 angles are and all 3 sides. Just like when we were finding area, you're not always going to be given the picture. Sometimes you're just going to be given the measurements. Okay, we can still figure out what we're missing. You'll notice how we have angle A and angle B, which means we're missing angle C. We have side C, so we're looking for side A and side B. Okay, once again, the third angle is always the one you want to find first if it's possible. So to find angle C, I add the other 2 angles together, giving me 107, and I take that and I subtract it from 180, and that's going to get me 73 degrees for angle C. So now what happens is I have a pair of side and angles. I've got side C and angle C together, so that's going to be what I use as a reference. So I am going to have the side C over the sine of angle C, And I'm going to find my two side lengths. If I want to find A first, I would set it equal to A over the sine of angle A, which is 42. And I'm going to cross multiply. A times the sine of 73 is equal to 5 times the sine of 42. Divide both sides by the sine of 73. Again, close the parentheses when you do this. So again, we're going to type in 5 sine of 42, close the parentheses, divided by the sine of 73. And we hit enter and we get that A is about 3.5. Do the same thing for side B. So again, we use the 5 over the sine of 73. And we set that equal to side B over the sine of angle B, which is 65. Cross multiply B sine of 73 is equal to 5 sine of 65. Divide both sides by the sine of 73. And then again, when we type this in, 5 sine of 65, close the parentheses, divided by sine of 75, I get an answer of 4.7. So there I have all three angles and all three sides. Go ahead and pause the video, solve this triangle on your own, and then hit play and see how you did. The first thing that you should have found was that angle B is 107 degrees. That gives you your ratio to compare everything to, so you should be using 12 over the sine of 107 to find the other two side lengths. To find A, you have 12 over the sine of 107 is equal to A over the sine of 34. Cross multiply and solve. You should get that A is 7.0. For C, you should have 12 over 107, sine of 107 is equal to C over the sine of 39. Cross multiply and solve, you should get that C is 7.9.